So it's the July 4th. I'm visiting family off in northeast Texas. And last night I took my children to a local rodeo. The Teague, Texas rodeo. It was their 79th year. Beautiful night sky out there, the moon. And for 10, maybe 15 minutes, I know more than 10 minutes, the announcer got up there and talked about how great America was and the red, white, and blue, and they played Johnny Cash, This Old Flag, and they rode, had girls ride around with American flags and people on their hands, on their hearts for more than 10 minutes and saying how great our troops are and how they sacrifice everything. And that's what America's all about, is spreading our freedom in Iraq and everywhere else, and how we've got to support the president and how it's not good to ridicule and criticize the government. And it went on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it looked like fascism to me. You see, the flag symbolizes, we're also on TV right now, shooting for the local TV show here in Austin. I'm holding up the Bill of Rights. You see, it symbolizes these and the Declaration of Independence. And that is about resistance to tyranny. And it's about defending hard-won basic freedoms that are innate to human beings who aren't in bondage. And talking to people in the country, talking to family and others, they're all griping about why gas prices are up. But even when you tell them, well, it's because the government made the decision to devalue the dollar, they just don't compute. Or when you explain to them that both parties are dissolving our borders publicly and bringing in the North American Union and overturning much of our Bill of Rights and Constitution, they just don't compute. To them, it's just, I just say I'm patriotic, I love the red, white, and blue, and that's the end of it. Well, I love the red, white, and blue more than most people. It's just I love it because I know what it symbolizes and what it means. In fact, they had a series of short films that they would show on newsreels before movies during World War II, and it was Why We Fight. Those happen to be on YouTube and Google, at least last time I checked. I challenge everyone listening tonight or on the podcast in the next few days or when we refeed it until I'm live tomorrow afternoon on the stream at Infowars.com. I'm challenging you to write a note right now. You're driving in your 18-wheeler, you're out at a shindig, got the radio on, or you're at home listening, or you're doing gardening. Just please, if you've forgotten or nobody ever told you or you never researched what this country's about, go watch what the government, when it wasn't as corrupt and bad, put out about why we fight. And it's these short films about because other governments want to take your guns, because other governments want to take your property, because other governments spy on you without warrants, because other governments violate the will of the people. I mean, when you look at the fact that every major Gallup poll, some of the most scientific, but they all are 85 to 92%, but on average they're around 90% of Americans, including Hispanics, the vast majority of them, want to control our borders and slow down the legal and control the illegal immigration. But you notice both parties want open borders, push forward, and act like you have got 7 heads and are from Pluto if you want to control our borders. I mean, there are 600 and something million people south of the border who want to come here from Latin America, and we can't allow that, driving down the wages, bankrupting the welfare system. I hear this line about, well, the illegals, they pick the produce, and you'll be paying $100 for a tomato. No, in fact, less than 10% of a crop, whether it's tomatoes or corn or even a watermelon, when you get it at the store, was paid to who even grew it. And less than half of that is the cost of whoever picked it. Picking the food is a microscopic amount of the cost. And the illegal aliens aren't taking the crop jobs. It's driving down the wages in meat packing, in custodial services, in construction, the quality. It's all unraveling. And then while the man works, they have federal studies on this, most of the women are then on welfare under fake names. And so an illegal alien on average, and these are government's own numbers, Congressional Budget Office numbers, California's got the numbers, takes 3 times as much money in services as they generate for the economy. 3 times. So I don't want to hear that anymore. Okay, also, when we take on as much as 10 times a year what we did at the last peak of immigration in the 1900, about 100 years ago. These people are virulently anti-American. They are nationalistic. And we won 2 wars with Mexico, and they teach them in their textbooks that we stole the Southwest, Texas, Oklahoma, all the way out to California into Oregon, and they're taught to hate this country. Now, I am not going to sit here and play along with this huge fraud and just have somebody flap an American flag in my face and tell me that America is about flying 8,000 miles away and blowing the living daylights out of Iraqis that did nothing to us. Our country is falling apart right now. Our country is literally disintegrating into third worldom. Do you know what it means? The peso has been, I looked it up last night, has been as much as 50 to 1. It was 30 to 1 in the late 80s. For much of its history, it's been about 12.5 to 1. Guess what the peso is versus the dollar right now? 5 to 1. The peso is nearing parity. The dollar is dropping. The dollar has dropped so much that it's almost lined up with the peso. Now, the United States, in its 235 years, has never had a currency devaluation. These wreck countries generally for good. A currency devaluation wrecked the Roman Empire hundreds of years into its republic. So, again, I love this country, so I will come on air, and instead of giving you a bunch of fluff and stuff that feels good and playing, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. Well, what does that mean? Because there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. My family lives here. My roots are here. I'm dedicated to Texas. I'm dedicated to the United States. I can't even help myself, even though they were using it for propaganda purposes and expropriating it, meaning well, they weren't doing it in an evil way. They're co-opted. But I still get a little tear in my eye during the Star-Spangled Banner, even though I knew it was being expropriated and being used by the New World Order. And our flag now worldwide is a symbol of evil. And the globalists have seized our country with corporate donations and control and think tanks. And they have now used us as an engine of terrorism, corruption, murders, payoffs. The whole world knows about it. And so the globalists have used our credit to buy up the planet, to buy off nations. The global corporations have used corporate welfare to fund themselves. They've now moved offshore. Halliburton, all of them. They're all moved offshore. Literally, almost all of them. And then they still prance around saying they're pro-U.S. when they've left the country and set up policies that devalued our dollar and robbed what's in your bank account. So when we get back, Tyler, Gary, Charles, Matt, Heidi, Ed, Don, I'm going straight to your calls. Then later, I'm going to read through the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. I am going to read through the First Amendment through the 10th Amendment, and we are going to ask ourselves, is this what is happening in our country? Is the government destroying this, or are they defending this? Because the Founding Fathers said anybody that attacks those amendments is traitors, and it's not your right to resist them, it is your duty. So we are resisting them in the info war. We'll be right back. You're on the air. Welcome, Don.
Howdy, Alex. I wanted to let you know I agree with you on 99% of what you say, but you made a point a few days ago regarding the storage of precious metals that I disagree with, and that you recommended the use of a safe deposit box. And that's the worst place you can put it, because when the administration declares a national emergency, they're going to require a federal agent to be present when you get into your safe deposit box.
Well, let me add that I probably was speaking so fast, like when I get excited, and I was saying spread it out, and I was saying maybe something in a safe deposit box, part of your metals somewhere else, because just like with the Great Depression, there are thousands of times paper false assets, garbage assets that have been AAA rated, and now that's what's causing the real crisis, not just in the housing markets, but as you know, with the global economy, not just U.S. markets. And so you're absolutely right. In fact, governments have now, from San Francisco to Dallas, Texas, I've seen it in the last few months, England as well, are just randomly going into banks and saying, we're going to search 1,000 safety deposit boxes. And now in California, they have been seizing safety deposit boxes. There's even been some national news pieces on this, and for, quote, the state's debt. And so my grandmother, who's, I guess, 83 years old, she still remembers growing up in Dallas when they had to all turn their gold in. You were only allowed a wedding band or a small amount because the government said we're going to give you paper for it. And when they turned their gold in, again, the foreign European banks basically had control then as they do now. That was then shipped to Europe, and 1 year later they doubled the price of gold and then started the devaluation that we're now at the end of today with the paper currency.